My sister mocked my sick son as an expense, so I exposed her scam and took my house back forever. My parents denied me $70,000 to save my sick son, but they gifted $200,000 to my sister. I sold my house in tears while they celebrated. Now that they've lost everything in fake investments, they're begging me for help. I just handed them a brochure for the same shelter where I spent the night when I sold my house. It's acute leukemia. We need $70,000 for an experimental surgery or he won't make it past 2 months. The doctor's words cut through me like ground glass in my throat. I ran to my parents' house. Please, I need you to lend me the money. It's my son. Son, the economic situation is very difficult. We can't divert funds to lost causes. My father didn't even look up from his newspaper. A week later, at a family dinner, my sister raised her glass. Let's toast. My parents gave me $200,000 for my real estate project, for investments that are actually worthwhile, not like others who just beg for handouts. My world collapsed. My parents clinked their glasses and applauded proudly. And my son? I exploded. Your son isn't an investment, he's an expense. My sister smiled venomously. Learn the difference. My father leaned towards me. If you were a man, you would have sold your house by now. I know someone who will pay you in cash without much paperwork. Desperation blinded me. I signed the sale for $87,000 when it was worth $150,000. That night, with a backpack and my soul in pieces, I paid $10 for a bed at a shelter. I slept there to save every penny. With $87,000 in my pocket and the smell of the shelter's disinfectant clinging to my clothes, only one thing was clear to me. Someday they would pay for every tear. 3 days after my son's surgery, when I could barely celebrate that he had survived, my sister sent me a photo. It was her posing in my kitchen with a glass of wine and the text, "Giving this place a touch of class. Thanks for the upgrade, little brother." My brain refused to process it. What the hell? Impossible. But then I understood. Something broke inside me, not my spirit, my naivety. I sat down in front of the hospital computer and started searching for the name of the buying company on the sales papers. Global Patrimonial Group, AOC. It sounded generic, too perfect. Public records don't lie. The limited liability company had been created 2 weeks before my father advised me to sell. The registered agent, my sister. It had all been an organized family scam. They had mocked my desperation. My blood ran cold. My mind finally cleared. I understood everything. "Dad, can I ask you something?" I called him that same night. "Of course, son. How did you know your contact would pay me so quickly for the house?" "Oh, son, he's very efficient and always has good capital available. Why do you ask?" "No reason, just curious. Thanks to that, I saved my son." I hung up. I had my answer. I went to see a lawyer with the documents. "The sale is legally airtight," he told me after reviewing them. "You signed of your own free will. There's no technical fraud here. And if I prove there was family collusion, it would be difficult to prove and very expensive. I'm sorry." I left that office a changed man. The law wasn't going to help me. I would have to do it myself. My son and I moved into a one-bedroom apartment. He slept on the sofa bed, I on the floor. Every night after putting him to bed, I opened my laptop and investigated mortgage records, public credit histories, city documents. I became an expert at finding information. I even signed up for free online courses, and then I found it. Pure gold. My parents' house had a second mortgage with a small private credit firm, Capital Rapido Solutions, for $280,000, borrowed just a year ago at 15% annually. They were already 3 payments behind in the last 6 months. Meanwhile, my sister continued her act as a real estate influencer on Instagram. She posted pictures of her property with captions like, "The secret is identifying opportunities others don't see. Entrepreneurial mindset, smart investments." Each post was a stab in the back, but also fuel. One Thursday, among unpaid bills and junk mail, a simple letter appeared with the return address of a law firm I didn't recognize. I was so overwhelmed I almost threw it away, but I opened it. It was from my late father-in-law's lawyer, who had passed away 3 months ago. He had left an inheritance, $37,000. The attached sheet included a personal note he had written before he died. "I know things can be difficult without my daughter. Use this to secure my grandson's future. It's the last gift from a grandfather who adores him." My eyes welled up. It was the first time I had cried since my son's diagnosis. The love of my wife's family manifested as an unbreakable fortress to save us. While my own blood had tried to destroy us, the irony was so perfect it almost hurt. But it was also a sign, an instruction. This was no longer just revenge, it was pure justice. A grandfather's last act of love was going to finance the annihilation of the others. I called Capital Rapido Solutions. Good morning. I'm interested in buying private debt portfolios. Do you have any available? A few? Yes. What kind of amounts are you working with? Up to $300,000 in cash. Perfect. I can show you several options. I reviewed all the available portfolios until I found the one I was looking for, house in Los Alamos. Original loan for $280,000. 3 missed payments. High-risk debtors. I'm interested in that one. What's the price? $182,000. It's problematic, hence the discount. I'll take it. A week later, I was the new creditor for my parents' mortgage. They had no idea. To them, Capital Rapido Solutions was still their lender, but now I controlled their financial destiny. I sat in my apartment that night with my son asleep on the couch and the mortgage documents in my hands. I had become the silent predator, the one who waits patiently. My sister kept posting photos of my old house. My parents continued living as if nothing had happened. None of them knew that the boy they had humiliated and scammed now had the power to destroy their financial world whenever he pleased. But I was in no hurry. Revenge is a dish best served cold, and I had just started cooking. Every night before sleeping, I reread my father-in-law's note. It's the last gift from a grandfather who adores him. He was right. It was a gift, and I was going to use it exactly as he would have wanted. 2 months after buying the mortgage, I started noticing something strange on my sister's social media. Her posts about smart investments had changed. She was no longer just showing photos of my old house. Now she was talking about a revolutionary artificial intelligence trading fund that promised returns of 30% per month. My parents trusted my business vision, and now we're all making money while we sleep. Artificial intelligence never rests. Her usual hashtags followed: financial future and smart investments. In the comments, I recognized names of cousins, uncles, even my parents' neighbors. How can I join? Do I need a lot of initial capital? I want to invest too. My sister had turned my old house into her sales stage. She organized investment meetings in my former living room, where she convinced relatives to put their money into the same fund, where she had poured the initial $200,000 and everything they had taken out by mortgaging my parents' house. The red flag was obvious to anyone with half a brain, but greed is stronger than logic. Then on a Tuesday morning, it all blew up. Breaking: founder of Ponzi scheme that stole $400 million from investors arrested. The headline on the morning news made me spit out my coffee. The photo of the arrested man was the same face I'd seen in my sister's posts. Jonathan Black, Chief Executive Officer of Future Trading. His revolutionary fund was a classic Ponzi scheme. The money had completely vanished. My phone started ringing immediately. It was my Aunt Carmen. Did you see the news? Your sister convinced half the neighborhood to invest in that crap. My husband put his retirement savings in, $40,000. I hung up and opened Facebook. The massacre had begun. Maria lied to us. She told us it was a safe investment. That scammer used her own family. How could we be so naive? She knew it was a fraud. My sister tried to do damage control with a desperate post. I lost money too. We were victims together. Please understand, I never would have risked my family's money if I had known. But it was too late. Her reputation was destroyed, and along with it, my parents. 3 days later, the first official letter arrived. The monthly payment on the second mortgage had not been made. $4,200 that simply no longer existed. My lawyer sent the standard reminder letter. Nothing personal, just protocol. My father called me that same night. Son, I think we have a little problem with some payments. What kind of problem? Well, with this whole investment thing, our cash flow got a bit complicated. I waited for an apology, for him to acknowledge the abysmal irony, a minimal sign of humanity. But he blurted out with a demanding tone, Son, I heard you're doing well, that you're almost a millionaire with your inheritance. Your duty as a son is to help us out of this. We just need $180,000 to pay off the debts. I don't know what you're talking about, Dad, I replied with a forced calm. I'm broke, just surviving. I hung up without another word. I didn't sleep that night. My father's words echoed like a poisonous refrain, almost a millionaire, your duty as a son. The audacity of his demand was suffocating. I knew he wouldn't stop there. His world was crumbling, and I was the perfect scapegoat. A week later, my personal hell began. My Aunt Carmen called me crying. Your dad is telling the whole family that you sabotaged the investments out of pure envy, that you ruined your sister's success by refusing to help them even though you're now almost a millionaire with your inheritance, that you're a selfish son, seriously. He says you've always been bitter and vengeful, that you even made up your son's cancer to get attention. My blood ran cold. He said that. We don't believe him, but he's convincing some people. Your Uncle Raul won't talk to you anymore. But my father didn't stop there. 2 days later, my boss called me into his office. Hey, I received a very strange call yesterday, a man claiming to be your father. My heart sank. What did he say? That you have a substance abuse problem. That you've been stealing money from the company to support your habit. That I'm irresponsible for keeping an addict on my staff. Boss, you know that. Of course I know it's a lie. I've known you for 8 years, but I need you to make an official statement for human resources in case this escalates. I recorded my testimony that afternoon. I detailed every event from my son's diagnosis to the family scam. Human Resources filed my statement and assured me my job was safe. More ammunition for my arsenal. The second payment didn't arrive. My lawyer sent the official notice of intent to foreclose on the mortgage. It was no longer just a reminder, it was a legal threat. My sister showed up at my apartment 3 days later without makeup, with swollen eyes, wearing the same clothes she'd worn for 2 days straight. I need to talk to you. About what, please? Her tears seemed real for the first time. Just 5 minutes. I let her in. She sat on my cheap sofa, the same one my son slept on every night, and began her performance. I know I made mistakes. I know things got out of control, but we're family. I need your help to save our parents' house. I know you're swimming in money. Give me time. I can get the money and I'll pay you back. I looked at her with absolute calm. Is it to save their house or to give me back mine? Her face transformed. The sadness vanished, replaced by pure rage. My house. You sold it. No one forced you. You're right. I sold it because you wouldn't lend me the money to save my son. Money used to buy my house at a bargain price, and he was saved. You should be grateful. Then with contempt she added, I'm wasting my time with you. I knew you were an idiot who doesn't help his family. She stood up and headed for the door, but before leaving she turned around. This isn't over. That night I received an email from her personal account. You're going to pay for this. I'll ruin your life like you ruined ours. You have no idea what I can do to you. I printed the email immediately. Their next move was predictable. They tried to declare bankruptcy to evade the debt. My lawyer was prepared. I presented evidence of all the recent transfers to your daughter, he explained over the phone. The initial $200,000, the withdrawals from the second mortgage, everything. The court can clearly see they're trying to hide assets. The bankruptcy filing was rejected. Desperation was making them creative. My sister created a GoFundMe using an old photo of my mother in the hospital. My mother is sick and needs urgent treatment. The family has lost everything in financial scams. Please help. The campaign raised nearly $7,000 in 2 days. But I had been monitoring her social media. I had recent screenshots of my parents on a cruise to the Bahamas, paid for with borrowed money just before the financial collapse. I anonymously sent the links to GoFundMe support with a note. The beneficiaries are committing fraud. Attached is proof of their true financial situation. The campaign was shut down for fraud 24 hours later. The money was returned to the donors. The humiliation within their circle was public. The final foreclosure notice arrived. They had 30 days to pay the arrears plus penalties, $1,500 they didn't have. They ignored it completely. On the 31st day, my lawyer obtained the court order to take possession of the property. It was then, upon reviewing the final judicial possession documents, that they stumbled upon the truth. The new creditor wasn't an anonymous firm. It was my name. That night, as I reviewed the legal documents with my son asleep beside me, my phone vibrated with a voicemail from my sister. Her voice was pure venom. Listen to me, you son of a bitch. If you think you can take our house and get away with it, you're dead wrong. If I can't keep my parents' house, I'm going to make sure social services investigates your unstable lifestyle. A single father living in a crappy apartment obsessed with revenge is clearly not a suitable environment to raise a child. I'm going to take your son from you just like you want to take the house from us. I saved the audio. Any doubt I had ever had evaporated completely. This was no longer just about justice for what they did to me. Now they had threatened my son. The game had changed and I held all the cards. I scheduled the eviction for when they returned from Cancun. My sister couldn't help but post every detail on her stories. I hired the same moving company I used when they threw me out of my house. At 3:47 post-meridian, the taxi from the airport arrived. I watched them get out. My parents tanned and relaxed, my sister carrying duty-free bags. They were laughing about something. They froze like statues when they saw their lives piled up on the lawn. What the fuck? My father ran towards the front door as if it were on fire. He tore off the foreclosure notice that had been nailed to the wood. His hands trembled as he read my name. It can't be. It can't be. I was across the street leaning against my car, watching in silence like a director watching his favorite movie. My sister saw me first. Her face went from confusion to absolute horror. You? She ran towards me like a mad woman. You're a monster. This is our house. I didn't respond. I just raised my phone, showing her clearly that I was recording. She stopped in her tracks. The neighbors were already peeking out. The whole block had a front row seat to the spectacle. My father approached. His arrogance had completely disappeared. It was your house, he murmured. The house where you grew up. I handed him a manila folder. This was my house, too. His hands shook as he opened it. Inside was all the evidence, the fake limited liability company, the underpriced sale, the threats against my son. It's all in there, I said with glacial calm. My sister tried to snatch the folder from him. Those are lies. You manipulated everything. How did you manipulate the limited liability company you created 2 weeks before the sale? Or how did you manipulate Dad to convince me to sell? My father looked at the documents and his face crumbled. Daughter, this is true. Dad, don't believe him. He's making it all up. The papers fell from his hands. My God, you manipulated all of us. No, my sister screamed. He's crazy. He's obsessed with hurting us. Obsessed? I looked directly at her. Like when you said you were an investment and my son was an expense? Or when you threatened to take him from me? My mother, who until then had been in total shock, finally spoke. You threatened to take his son? It was an empty threat. I was angry. I took out my phone. Her own voice filled the street. I'm going to take your son from you just like you want to take the house from us. The silence was deafening. My mother looked at her in horror. How could you say that? He's your nephew. I was desperate. Mom, he's taking everything from us. I didn't interrupt her. I didn't take anything from you. You took my house from me when my son was dying. You denied me a loan when you had the money. You celebrated while I slept in a shelter. My father tried one last move. Son, can we fix this? We're family. Family. Family is calling your sick grandson a lost cause. Family is making up that I'm an addict so I get fired from my job. He turned pale. How do you know? My boss told me everything. It's recorded with human resources. I showed him my phone again. I have proof of everything you've done to destroy me since you lost the money. My sister collapsed on the curb, crying. Now, where are we going to live? I looked at her without an ounce of compassion. I don't know. Maybe you could go to the shelter. It's $10 a night. What? My mother didn't understand the reference. It's where I slept when I sold my house because of you to save every penny for my son's surgery. My father approached me with tears in his eyes. Please forgive us. We made mistakes. But mistakes, I interrupted him. Scamming me was a mistake. Threatening my son was a mistake. Trying to get me fired was a mistake. I pulled a folded brochure from my back pocket, the same one I had been carrying for months, waiting for this moment. I handed it to my father. What is this? A brochure for the shelter, the same place I spent the night when you stole my house from me. He looked at it with trembling hands. You can't be serious. As serious as you were when you told me my son wasn't an investment but an expense. My sister lifted her head, her makeup streaked. You're really going to leave us on the street? Exactly as you left me. The difference is I didn't have a choice. You chose this when you decided to scam me. The neighbors were still watching, some recording with their phones. The humiliation was completely public. My father made one last desperate attempt. What if we give you your house back? We could make an exchange. What house? I looked at him in disbelief. The one she already had to sell to cover the losses from the Ponzi scheme. You have nothing left to give back. My sister turned pale. How do you know that? I know everything. I know you sold it 2 months ago when you ran out of money. I know you lost everything anyway. I looked her straight in the eye. So not only did you lose on your scam, now you've lost this too. My father broke down. He literally collapsed onto the pavement, sobbing. I didn't know she had planned everything. I thought it was really an opportunity to help you. Sure, that's why you told me that if I were a man, I would have already sold my house. He had no answer. My sister screamed from the curb. You're a psychopath. I didn't respond to her. I am exactly what you taught me to be. As I drove away, I saw them in the rearview mirror. 3 people who had destroyed their own family for greed, now standing among the wreckage of their lives, not understanding how they had gotten there. Justice had been served, cold, calculated, and completely deserved. It's been 8 months since the eviction. I sold the family home immediately. With that money and what was left of the inheritance, I bought a new house in a better neighborhood. It has a big yard where my son plays soccer every afternoon. The extended family viscerally hates her. My Aunt Carmen lost $40,000 of her retirement because of her, and now literally crosses the street when she sees her. At the last family birthday, 3 families left when she arrived. The entire neighborhood knows she's the scammer who stole from her own relatives. The lady at the supermarket told me that people turn their backs on her when she goes shopping. The most delicious part is that my own parents privately blame her for everything. If she hadn't been so ambitious, none of this would have happened, my father tells her, according to my cousin. She destroyed the entire extended family out of greed, and now she's completely alone. Not even her own parents fully trust her. My cousin also told me she can't get a job. Apparently, when employers Google her name, the first things that pop up are articles about the Ponzi scheme. My sister harasses me with fake profiles on social media. I systematically block them. It's like playing whack-a-mole with a desperate person. 3 months ago, I received a WhatsApp message from my mother. It was an empty 2-paragraph apology that ended with a request for money for urgent medical expenses. I replied with a single sentence, I hope you find the help you need." I blocked her. Last night I hung a new photo on our living room wall. My son and me at the front door of our new house, smiling. It's the first photo where I genuinely look happy in years. My son doesn't ask about his grandparents. Kids are smarter than we think. He knows that people who hurt him and his dad don't deserve to be in his life. Sometimes I wonder if I was too harsh. Then I remember my father's exact words: "We can't divert funds to lost causes." And the feeling passes. They built their empire on my ruins. I built my peace on theirs. Was I wrong to take away their lifelong home? Or did the house stop being a home the moment they used it as a weapon against me? The story may have ended, but its aftermath opens up a larger discussion about the true boundaries in relationships. At its core, the drama is not only about money, inheritance, or revenge. It is about how the language of family can sometimes be twisted into a weapon. In many cultures, people are taught that family harmony must be preserved at any cost, that children must endure everything in silence, and that sacrifice proves love. But when those ideals are misused, they can create a toxic cycle where loyalty is demanded but compassion is never returned. In the story, a father and sister justified cruelty with cold logic, reducing a sick child to a bad investment and celebrating profit over humanity. That moment did not simply break trust. It revealed the true hierarchy of values inside that family. What followed, the manipulation, the scams, the threats, and the eventual collapse, was not an accident. It was the predictable result of greed disguised as pragmatism, and power disguised as parental authority. When we step away from the details of houses, debts, and court documents, we see a familiar pattern that many people quietly endure: the pressure to forgive endlessly simply because someone shares your blood. Society often romanticizes reconciliation without acknowledging the damage that unchecked manipulation causes. In reality, boundaries are not acts of cruelty, they are acts of survival. And sometimes the harshest decisions come from a place of protection rather than hatred. As I reflect on what happened, I realize the most painful part was never losing the house. Houses can be rebuilt, money can be earned again. What truly shattered was the illusion that family automatically means safety. When that illusion disappears, a person faces a terrifying choice: continue sacrificing yourself for people who see you as expendable, or finally draw a line that may fracture the family forever. Many people hesitate at that moment because they fear being labeled selfish, ungrateful, or heartless. But the truth is that confronting manipulation is not the same as destroying a family. Sometimes it is the only way to stop a pattern that has been quietly hurting everyone for years. Courage does not always look like forgiveness. Sometimes it looks like saying, "Enough." Sometimes it looks like protecting your child, your dignity, and your future, even if others call it betrayal. And that brings us to the uncomfortable question many people avoid asking themselves: if the people who raised you had the power to save your child but refused because they valued money more, and years later they begged for your help after losing everything through their own greed, would you open the door again in the name of family? Or would you finally close it to protect the life you fought so hard to rebuild?